Good evening, everybody. This is immigration attorney Irene Weisman. Today is Sunday, May 25th, 2025. I know I haven't been able to, to record a video for probably a week now, maybe a little bit more. So I decided to do this on a Sunday just to give updates. I apologize. It's just, it's been really, really hectic and busy. And since I do this in two languages, it just takes a little bit of my time. So I want to go through this week and this past week, not the new one coming up, but the one that just finished, just to go through updates and major events that have been happening in immigration courts, in USCIS, in New York, and throughout the country, actually. Okay, so in the beginning of the week, we had a Congressional Liaison meeting. When I say we, I mean just a group of various immigration attorneys that are part of AILA, American Immigration Lawyers Association. Here in New York. This was a New York-based program, and the meeting was with representative of our New York-based congressional representatives. So oftentimes in the immigration practice, we turned to Congressional Liaison for certain help. Every congressional office has an immigration liaison person. Some are more helpful than others. Sometimes it's not necessarily up to them, but in my own practice, we have resorted to congressional assistance in various instances, and there have been several cases where they have really been instrumental in helping my clients with their documents. One case really stands out in my memory because they really did extraordinary work. It was a very difficult case. I had very little time. It was a consular processing case. It was a diversity lottery win, and we had very little time because it was a DV lottery win, and the person needed a 601 waiver for an old criminal conviction. So I processed all the paperwork and I did the waiver. I got it expedited and I actually got it approved. And my client, when national of Russia, he went to the consulate post in Warsaw, because that's where Russian nationals now go for their consular final interviews. They kept his passport, and then something happened, and he literally had just a couple of days to get the visa stamped in there because time was running out for him. And I don't know what happened, whether the post lost his passport or whatever it was. And, I basically wrote out a script for my client, and it was like, you go and you stand by that congressional liaison and just let them see this, so that, don't wait, let's not waste time with all the authorizations for the attorney. It was like, you just, take this to them, do this. And she did, and I don't know what it is they did, but they intervened and they helped, and my client got his passport with that visa. They found it, or they, whatever it is they did, but they got it done, and they got it done in a very, very short period of time. So it just, we were very grateful. And other times where the congressional liaison has been helpful for my clients, again, in my experience, personally, as an attorney, in my experience, they have been very helpful when it is a consular case, with expediting something, where we really had a really good reason to expedite something, and, they have been very helpful. Sometimes people go with certain problems, they reach out to Congressional Liaison for a case that is pending in the United States, and they will reach out to USCIS to find out what's going on and what the status is, and what have you. So what we were told by these congressional representatives is that right now it's more difficult for them to reach out to USCIS as well. They have to go through a lot of red tape as well. So they still do it. They try to do it. They will help as much as they can. They just did wanted us to know that it has been more difficult for them as well. Whether you don't have the right authorization or this is not the original signature, but there has been a lot of bureaucracy for them, and they wanted us to know that, but their services are still out there to help. Whether they will be successful or not, that's a whole different other story, but they are available and still out there for help. Speaking of original signatures, there have been a lot of either requests for evidence or rejections from USCIS stating that the signature on the form is not the original signature. Now, USCIS does accept a photocopy of the wet signature. I personally don't mess with that. I tell all of my clients they're going to submit the original signature. It's very rare that I will submit a photocopy of something. I usually don't. If I can help it, will submit an original signature. So lately there have been requests for evidence or rejections for that original signature. However, the policy is still out there that they will accept a photocopy of the wet signature. What do I mean by that? They don't accept an electronic signature, okay? So like you can't e-sign through a program on your computer, but if you print something out and you sign it and then you scan it in, or you make a photocopy and you submit that they they should accept. That's the policy, okay? But again, just keep in mind rejections or requests for evidence for that particular issue, okay? Next, delays with receipt notices. U visas, T visas, VAWAs, literally it's going on to be like 3 months, if not more, for some cases right now. So if you did submit a case and you're not getting your receipt notice, just please be patient. I'd say give it at least 3 months before you start reaching out. And for these types of cases, for the humanitarian cases, when you call USCIS, nobody's going to talk to you because it's these are the cases that are subject to different privacy rules. And instead of calling them, you have to send an email to a special address that deals with these types of humanitarian cases, and getting a response from them is a whole different other issue. So it's been very stressful in that respect. Just be aware that that is happening, okay? Let me see, TPS, temporary protective status. So, there was a court decision that said that, they'll uphold the end of TPS for the 2023 designation of TPS for nationals from Venezuela. If you are from Venezuela and you are under the 2023 designation, please reach out to your attorney. If you don't have an attorney, please find one, okay? So you need to know what to do right now, okay? Same with nationals from Afghanistan. TPS is done, and you need to figure out what it is you can do, or you need to know what your rights are, what your responsibilities are. and what you can do. And this of course is going to serve as, I guess, education as to other countries, right, where we know TPS is going to be probably ending in the near future, right? Like Haiti, and I don't know what's going to happen with Ukraine. And really, at this point, we really don't know what's going to happen with Ukraine. We'll see. There is still a pause on adjudication for people that entered on parole from Ukraine and from Nicaragua, Haiti, Venezuela, and Cuba. So if you entered on parole and you submitted any application that is a benefit-based application, there's still a pause on adjudication on those cases. So that's still happening. And Real ID, okay, so I've been getting a lot of calls about it, clients trying to obtain it. I'm not gonna lie, I don't have Real ID myself. I just don't have time to go. I mean, thankfully I have a US passport, but it's been a real pain for many of my clients, and especially people that whose employment authorization is expired and they submitted the request for renewal, and that's pending. It's been a real mess, at least here in New York. And on top of that, to get inside the federal building, so if you have an appointment with USCIS, there are some buildings that now require a Real ID to get in. I don't know if your building is one of those buildings or not, depending on where you are in the country. But be mindful of that, and just read their rules. Sometimes there's system glitches. I've had one of my clients who is a green card holder had problems, something wasn't matching, and I checked on my end, everything was good on my end. He was previously in removal proceedings, but I won that case and I already got him the green card, and something wasn't matching between DMV and USCIS. So I advised to reach out to USCIS to see, and they did that, and I don't know what they did, but it worked somehow. I mean, maybe somebody had to push a button somewhere, but it ended up working. But it has been a real mess with Real IDs. And I guess the bigger news of the week is that there have been a lot of arrests by ICE in immigration courts all over the country, literally all over the country. Sometimes post USCIS interviews, but I'm now talking about immigration courts. So what happens is, a person has a hearing. This really mostly applies to people that have entered the country in the last 2 years through the southern border. There's a hearing, and you go in, and DHS moves to terminate proceedings, and you're like all excited, right? Oh, I'm no longer in removal proceedings. So they move to terminate, and you walk out, and ICE detains you, and they put you in expedited removal proceedings. Now, I discussed the expedited removal proceedings some time ago. That's one of the first executive orders that was issued, and that deals with streamlining removal proceedings. If somebody is placed in expedited removal, they don't have to go through the due process. They don't have to go through the process of immigration courts. They can just do it quickly. Okay, so the point of this is, if you are in removal proceedings, you really should not be going to court by yourself. You should obtain the services of a qualified immigration attorney, and you need to go through what to expect and what the strategy is for defending yourself against the termination of your case. And should that happen, what are the possible outcomes, and what can you do, okay, going forward. So, if I had to give any advice, and that would be, if you have, if you are one of those people that entered the United States in the last 2 years and you have a court appearance, my suggestion would be to retain an immigration attorney and be prepared and go in with that attorney and be prepared to fight for your rights and fight for your case. Okay. Because it really is happening, okay, literally all over. So I think these are the biggest events of the last week, the one that just finished, the one that passed. If I think of anything else, I will record another video. I will have another very busy week, but if something major happens, of course, I will record a video, okay? I want, we have a day off tomorrow. It's Memorial Day, in memory of all of the ones that have fallen for this country, defending this country. May their memory be a blessing. And, this remains to be one of the greatest countries that's out there. People still want to come here and fight for their American dream, achieve that American dream. This country makes it possible. So in memory of those that have fallen on behalf of this country, defending this country, may their memory be a blessing. Happy Memorial Day, upcoming Memorial Day, everybody, and I will see you soon. Thank you.